All right, joining me once again here on the Matthew Filipowicz Show is my good buddy Tim Karr. Tim is the campaign director at FreePress, which you can find at freepress.net. You can also follow him on Twitter at Tim Karr. Tim, thank you so much for being on the show again.
Matt, always a pleasure.
All right, so Tim, last week, FCC Chairman Thom Wheeler announced some proposed rules, some horrific new rules when it comes to net neutrality. Tell us all about it.
Well, we're getting to know the FCC chairman. He's new. He's relatively new, pretty well now. When he first came into office, there were a lot of folks who were concerned about his resume, which included being the top lobbyist for the cable industry at one point, and also being the top lobbyist for wireless carriers at another point in his history. And we had, said, well, he needs to prove to us that he's not simply doing the bidding of the companies that control digital communications in the world. And we learned last week that disappointingly, it looks like he is doing exactly that. He put together a proposal, which is a response to a mess that was created by his predecessor, Chairman Julius Genachowski, at the FCC to protect the open internet. And his proposal, which he even said in subsequent statements, is put in place to protect the open internet, does nothing of the sort. It creates this kind of a payola internet where the most powerful companies get to pay for fast lane services on the internet, and the rest of us are relegated to the back of the room. So it destroys this idea of net neutrality, whereby we as internet users, we buy a internet connection. The internet service provider that gives us that connection and just simply gets out of the way. And for decades, internet service providers have been trying to change that equation. They have been trying to get in our way so that when we go online and we want to, say, use a certain type of search engine and not another type of engine, that's our choice to make. Or if we want to go read our cousin Dean's blog and not go to CNN.com, that is a choice that we make. For internet service providers, they see a future where they take that choice away from us and they get to prioritize where we go online. And the way that they're doing that is by charging a new fee for internet companies, internet tech companies, websites and services to get in front of us to take away our choice and basically change the internet as we know it.
It's so, I mean, I guess it's not surprising looking at his resume, but it's still unbelievably disappointing. So, I mean, you've been on the show countless times talking about net neutrality. I think our audience is pretty well versed in it. Let's actually get into the details. What exactly is in this proposal? Like, how does it, because it essentially does set loose a place where if tiers are fine. Tell us, actually, get into the detail of what actually is in the guts of this guy, of Wheeler's proposal, and how it actually would change the internet as we know it.
Well, I wish I could give you the fine print, but we have not seen the proposal, nor have a lot of people. It was leaked to the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times. Aspects of it, but not the actual wording of it, have been leaked, and it's become very clear that what Wheeler wants to do is allow for this kind of pay-to-play scenario, allow for powerful companies to prioritize their websites and services at the expense of all others. And when the Wall Street Journal reported this last week, and when the New York Times and others reported this, there was this massive hue and cry. There were people who are been advocates of the open internet for a long time who've written articles. I mean, there has been this massive backlash to what the FCC is proposing, because we all understand that you cannot have the kind of net neutrality if you're actually allowing ISPs to privilege certain websites and services over other. It is a tectonic shift in the way the internet would work. And it's shifting towards a system that is more akin to cable television, where you have a very large company that basically decides what you get to watch. Sure, we may have hundreds and hundreds of channels on cable, but ultimately the power over what we see and do is in the hands of the internet service providers.
And if people don't believe this yet, I imagine most people do, and most people are worried about this. But even immediately following the when the district court struck down the crappy net neutrality rules that were in place that Janikowski put in, since then we have actually seen these ISPs and these telecom companies. There's already been all types of deals actually setting up this sort of fast lane of the internet. Tell us a bit about that, because it's actually already these deals are actually already happening.
Well, so Netflix, I think, is the one that people are very familiar with. Netflix has become a very popular service that allows people to watch videos via their internet connection. That's kind of the future of media consumption. As most things converge towards high-speed internet connections, you have companies like Netflix and others that are coming forward and saying, you can watch TV, or you can listen to music, or you listen to radio via your high-speed internet connection. You know that well, Matt, because you run a show that's built on internet distribution model. And what has happened is we've seen already the cable companies come along and say, well, we don't really like that people are moving away from our legacy product, because cable companies, in addition to providing people with high-speed internet connections, also provide them with cable television. We don't like that, so we're going to strike deals with these internet services. Notably, Netflix and Comcast have struck a deal, and there are other cable and phone companies that also want to strike a deal with Netflix, where they come and they pay us more money, and we will make sure that their service streams without jitter or without any delays. We like these kind of deals because it's more money for the ISPs. Of course, Netflix, which has to pay up, will just pass along those costs to the consumer. And one of the ironies, or really outrages about these sorts of scenarios, is that we as consumers, we already buy. You may choose that you want a DSL connection. You may want a fast cable connection. You may be in an area where you're served by fiber optics. You may have a Verizon Fios in your community. We as consumers, we choose to buy those sorts of speeds. And if we are someone who watches a lot of video, you're someone who watches a lot of video via your internet connection, you may pay a little extra more to get that higher speed. But what's happening is that the ISPs, the phone and cable companies, aren't actually delivering those speeds. You can do online tests to see if you're actually getting the speeds of data that you paid for, and you're finding that oftentimes that's not the case. It's kind of like, let's say you were going to see a movie with your friend. You each paid $10 to go see the movie. You sat down, and halfway through the movie, the screen goes black, and the movie theater just say, "Well, yeah, that happens sometimes. Sorry." It's outrageous. So now these companies, in addition to not providing you with the speeds that you buy, are trying to go to the other side, to the company that's streaming the service to you, and say, well, you got to pay more to deliver this. And then we're like, wait a second, didn't the consumer already buy these services? Didn't they already buy this speed? Why are you trying to do this? It's kind of a ridiculous scenario, but it is the problem that we're facing right now as more people do more things via the internet.